Hey guys, my name is Ryan, and welcome to Overwatch Central. So there are two major points that I want to talk about in today's video. Most more like immediate news to get everybody up to speed with what's going on, and some of it is kind of old news, but nobody's really talking about some aspects surrounding it, I suppose. What I mean by that is that Reinhardt is getting a rework, or at least his ultimate is. But as I said, this isn't new news. This actually came out during the weekend. But since I heard this news, I've been thinking long and hard about what I'd want to see from these changes and where Reinhardt sucks the most when it comes to his ultimate. What are the problems? What are the consistent issues that he runs into? We're going to be going over what exactly needs to change for Reinhardt and what his ultimate should be doing for future use. We'll be going over exactly what Jeff Goodman said about that, but first I want to talk about the new competitive game mode that will be going into the game fairly shortly. Overwatch has had more than one competitive game mode which we know as ranked. It started with the competitive Lucio Ball in the Summer Games last year. Kind of amazing how quickly that's coming up. That's in a couple of months now. But you've also had stuff like Capture the Rooster. Recently we've had competitive 6v6 elimination alongside competitive deathmatch, which was in the last event. Now all of these game modes so far have really struggled to get players interested in it. They played for a bit and then realised that it's mired with issues, and you can understand why Blizzard didn't want to do competitive deathmatch or competitive Capture the Rooster in the actual normal game modes. But there is one coming up that's very interesting, competitive 3v3. This was actually found and posted from somebody called Proceed, who found it when playing on the PTR. As you can see, you've got the little 3v3 logos, so we know that it's coming fairly soon. And with, as I said, we've had 6v6 elimination in the past and competitive DM, it's no surprise that this game mode has come through too. Now 6v6 had a lot of problems with it. It was a slow game mode, it really took a while to get through and ultimately just wasn't that fun. But competitive 3v3 has a lot of good mechanics in it, and it does play out to a very strong level. So you can just get two of your mates, but there's certain compositions and styles that you could run. One of you can play a tank, one of you can play a support, and the other one could play a DPS. That all works. There is a form of like meta that you can follow there, and you can play it with close friends and try and beat out other people. I do feel that this game mode is going to get a lot more traction than 6v6 and competitive DM because you have a lot more control, you can play it a lot more seriously. The maps are amazing for that kind of game mode, and there's counterplay. Remember, it'll be like first to 3 or first to 5. As soon as you win a round with, let's say, Roadhog, May, and Soldier, you can't use those heroes again for the second and third rounds. Once you win with them, you can't use them again, so it does require a little bit of brain power to actually work out what compositions you want to run, what the enemy team trying to do, can you counter them without losing that hero if you win that round. It's a lot more rock, paper, scissors, I suppose, but it is a game mode that I'm really looking forward to and can't wait to try out. I do feel it's going to be a lot more popular and just frankly a lot better than the other competitive brawls that we've had in the past, because that's basically what they are. Now, let's get on to the Reinhardt stuff. Just before that though, I want to be really quick. I want to know your weird interactions and your weird problems with Reinhardt's ultimate. Do let us know in the comments, either you being the Reinhardt or being against the Reinhardt, and the ultimate interacting in a way that you thought was basically bullshit. Do let us know that in the comments below, or basically pick up a portfolio of all of these stupid interactions that Blizzard should look at changing. As I said, this all came out a couple of days ago, so no doubt you may have heard it by now, but I do want to go over 5 areas in total where Reinhardt's Earthshatter should be changed somewhat. See, this came from an interview in Dynamic. It was with Jeff Goodman and Bill Warnock, who are principal designers and lead people on the design of Overwatch and everything that happens in it. One of the questions was, on behalf of Reinhardt mains on the team, is he being looked at again because he's pretty hard to play right now? Jeff Goodman points out, yeah, he's actually been looked at right now, and not only that, he's the biggest change that they're pushing with right now, which is interesting considering there's a Torbjorn rework on the way. This holds more bearing for Blizzard currently, but there are a lot of technical challenges, so what they're doing is they're rebuilding the Earthshatter ultimate from scratch. This is because over the years, Blizzard have tried to fix Reinhardt's Earthshatter with minor bug fixes here or there, but the issue that Jeff Goodman highlighted is that every time they did one of these debugs, they started to realize that there were a number of large systemic problems that would, basically break the game to a point. So they've decided to start from the drawing board and rework the ultimate. Now, it probably will be the same in terms of hitting the ground, stunning people, but it may look, sound, or feel a little bit different than it does now. But the main thing is they're rebuilding it from the ground up, and it's taking a little bit of time, but it's high on the priority list. So no doubt we may see this soon, maybe around the time that we'll see the Torbjorn rework. So now, here are the 5 things that I think they really need to look at and try and work out or change if they wanted to. Some of these I feel a lot more strongly than others. The first being corners and walls, and I want to show this ultimate off for a start. Now, we've highlighted this one in the past, and it's a very typical situation that you run into a lot. But more notably, and definitely more recently, I've been running into a lot of Earthshatter problems surrounding corners, curbs, little walls, where the Earthshatter effect should work, but it gets stopped. See, how Earthshatter works is it works from the hammer being hit to the ground and goes out in a wave. Anybody caught in said wave gets stunned, but that can be blocked by the little things that I mentioned. Most certainly walls, Reinhardt barriers, stuff that it won't be able to travel through. But there are some really weird interactions with how it works on walls. If you stun too close to a wall, it won't affect people if they're stood right against that wall. And I've had that a few times, certainly on King's Row, where people can really hug these corners. You go into Earthshatter them, but it doesn't do anything at all. But this is just one of the main things that Blizz need to look at, is just the actual area of the cone. Reinhardt's Earthshatter range isn't that much, but at least make sure that the range that it's actually effective in works properly. Another thing that I feel a lot of people talk about is the aftershock effect. So you can block a Reinhardt ultimate if you can see it coming. However, say if you're playing Reinhardt yourself, you've got your shield up, you block it, but you drop it a split second later, that Earthshatter will still go through. No doubt some of you have already experienced those times where an Earthshatter looks like it gets blocked, but it actually doesn't. Everybody gets stunned on the ground, and I've certainly had it as a Reinhardt where I've blocked an Earthshatter, but somebody behind me still gets stunned. And that's because of this aftershock effect. See that wave that I was talking about? It stays there for a few seconds, meaning that if a Reinhardt Earthshatters the ground, you can actually walk into the wave after he slammed his hammer. Now, how much of a problem this actually is, I don't know, but this all stems from a much bigger problem. Before I get onto that though, I need to talk about the height restrictions. Now, it's understandable that if you're far in the air, just hovering above the ground, you shouldn't be hit by the Earthshatter. It actually used to be the case that you could be stunned out of it if you were Genji double jumping in the air, or a Pharah just hovering in the sky, a little bit too close to the ground. Reinhardt could Earthshatter you and stun you to the ground. And of course, you don't need me to tell you why that was such a problem. The ultimate would also stun people that would be on high ground because it would go up walls basically in that range and stun them even if they're nowhere near, such as a little cafe bit on Hollywood. A lot of people got stunned by Earthshatter there. And this is a problem that people keep sort of highlighting, that a Genji double jumped over an Earthshatter, or just people were stood on top of the payload and weren't affected. I don't necessarily think that this is too much of a problem, but I've certainly seen people saying, yo, there was somebody stood on top of the payload, I Earthshattered, it didn't do anything to them. They should still be stunned, I feel, because they're still kind of connected to the ground. But the last three issues that I mentioned all stem under one main thing. Earthshatter needs to act how it looks, or vice versa. You think of Reinhardt hitting the ground and then this crack coming through, a wave on the ground that knocks people to it. The whole principle of the design is that Reinhardt hits the ground and stuns people in front of him with that ability. That's not hard to get your head around. However, the aftershock effect, how it interacts with corners, people's problems with the height of the ultimate, I think it all comes down to Earthshatter doesn't act how it looks, and it doesn't look how it acts. Let's use the example of Lucio's sound barrier and Doomfist's meteor strike. They both do the same thing, they both hit the ground, but you can still apply a shield to a teammate with Lucio's ultimate if they're in the air just a little bit, and the same thing with Doomfist. He strikes the ground in a very, very similar fashion to Reinhardt, yet he doesn't really have as many issues with people being too high, or an aftershock effect. You don't just walk into Doomfist's ultimate a second later and you die, and it doesn't fail to hit targets if they're too close to a wall. Now, I'm not saying that Doomfist isn't buggy at all, because he has his fair share, but you know how Doomfist's ultimate is meant to interact with everyone. The issue is that's not really the same case for Reinhardt. Reinhardt's rework of his ultimate needs to be more than the mechanics surrounding it and how it's meant to interact with the server, but also how it looks physically, the art style of it. If you're going to have an aftershock effect, let it be seen more on the ground. If there's going to be height restrictions, have a little wave come out, and anything over that wave doesn't get hit. Let people see the interaction of the Earthshatter hitting the ground and actually seeing how the wave comes out, instead of it just being cracks on the floor. It's like an invisible ultimate in a lot of senses. They're the four main areas, and of course people will bring up the fact that you can get stunned out of your ultimate fairly easily when you're ready to hammer down through Brigitte, hook, flashbang. A lot of people have said that that needs changing. I used to agree, but I honestly feel that it means that you need to be much more careful with using your ultimate, and honestly a lot smarter with how you approach it too. But that's the main area that I want to see Earthshatter being changed. It needs to act how it looks, or it needs to look how it acts, because right now the mechanics and the techie side behind Earthshatter actually interacts a lot differently to how it looks, and that's the biggest problem surrounding the ultimate, especially when you go, I should have hit that person, why didn't I? But again, as I said at the start of the video, do let us know your weird interactions with Reinhardt and his ultimate in the comments below. Maybe Blizzard will see all of these interactions themselves and get a lot more examples on how to fix it. But thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you agree with everything that I said. If you disagree, again, do let us know in the comments. Be interested to see what you feel. But thanks for watching, take care, we'll see you next time.